Hello everybody! So I decided to film this makeup look for you guys. It is a full cut crease with some glitter and some rhinestones. So I started with the e.l.f. brow freeze, like the Anastasia one, but the e.l.f. one. And I just used that to brush all the brow hairs up, and then I use the side of the brush to flatten it out on the top so I can see where I need to fill it in instead of filling it in first. If it doesn't necessarily need to be filled in the entire way, you'll see later on I fill it in a little bit, but I clean it up with a Tarte Shape Tape concealer in 22N with a flat concealer brush, and then I'm using like a really dense, almost like tapered round concealer brush just to flatten it all out to prime her lids for eyeshadow, and then I'm going to use a fluffy brush to set it with a little bit of translucent powder. And then I'm going to go in with a big fat fluffy brush and the first transition shade. I believe I used the Juvia's Place Nubian 2 palette. I used that palette for almost all of my clients. I really swear by the Juvia's Place eyeshadows. They're amazing. They blend nice. The pigment is amazing. It's very universal. You can do a lot of looks with that palette. But I start with that transition shade, and then I take a little bit of a darker color and more of like a flat tapered blender brush, and I go in with a little bit of a darker color and blend that in the crease just to provide a little bit more definition. And then I'm just blending that out here. I go back and forth between the two colors to really make sure that it's all like fully blended and, you know, really nice and soft. Then I'm just deepening up that color in the crease there because we are going to do a full cut crease, so you want that to be the deepest point of the shadow. You want the darkest color to be right there where you're going to cut the crease. And then you can see I'm going back in with that first brush and that first color just to really soften it and blend it all out. And then I'm taking a very small fluffy tapered brush and like the darkest color. It's almost black, but it's like a muted black. It's like a dark brown black color, and I'm just using that to really deepen it. And then with this color, I'm gonna wing out the end there to kind of get that shape of the full cut crease started, so I know where I'm gonna, it's like gauging, you know, where I'm gonna cut the crease with the concealer. Then I'm going back with that second color and that second brush, and I'm just diffusing that line even more.
Look up
And then I'm doing this little trick with the concealer where you put the concealer on the lash line and have them look up and around to the left and right just to gauge where their, you know, natural crease would be, so that when she opens her eye it doesn't transfer and you can still see the cut crease with her eyes open and not just with her eyes closed. And then I'm taking that same concealer, that Tarte Shape Tape, and I'm just filling that in. And I start in the front, and then I connect it to the inner corner, and then I'm going to drag it out to the end. And then sometimes I do the end and then connect in the middle. It really just depends. You can see here that I actually started at the tail of the brow and then got that shape, and then I'm going to go through and connect it to that middle that's already been defined, just to create a soft flow of a line that matches her eye shape. You know, every client is going to have a different lid shape or a different, you know, curve in that full cut crease, and then I'm just completely filling that in with the concealer. And I'll do a little tweaking, you know, once I do the other side, I'll make them more even, you know, connect any like weird lines that might show a connection on the two from the inner corner to the outer corner, just to make that a complete even line. You can see he's starting to feel herself. And then I'm going to set that with a little bit of eyeshadow, just like a light, you know, tan color. Nice view of my cheek there. We love that. And then here I'm using some eyelash glue right on that line of where I cut the crease, because that is where we are going to place some beautiful gold glitter from the Makeup Plug, at the Makeup Plug on Instagram. You already know. It's in the shade Brown Sugar. It's the most beautiful dark gold brown chunky glitter I have ever used. It's truly amazing. It has a little bit of like holographic in it, but it's the most perfect gold glitter ever, probably on the market. And then I'm taking a tiny like liner brush, and you can see that brown sugar right there. It's so beautiful. And I'm just patting that into the lash glue once it has dried clear and it's tacky, so the glitter has something to completely stick to, so that she doesn't get fallout throughout the night or any kind of glitter in her lashes, anything like that. And I'm taking that all the way from the brow to the inner corner. And then I'm taking a big fluffy brush at an angle to get like all that glitter off of her face. This is why I like doing the eyes first. And you can see I'm taking another smaller fluffy brush to get the glitter off of her lid where the glitter should not be. And then I'm using the lash glue to place little dots so that I can stick the rhinestones on there. I used brown and I used silver rhinestones. I just got it's like a double pack off of Amazon. They're so beautiful. And then I'm just using some tweezers to just stick those on there. And I tried to do the glue, like place all the dots and then all the rhinestones, but the glue dries so clear I can't see where I put the dots, so I had to place a dot, place the rhinestone, place a dot, place the rhinestone. So I just did that for both eyes. And then I'm going in with some primer. I believe I used the Hydro Grip primer. It's an Urban Decay one, like the glow gripping primer. It's in like a gray tube. I've had it forever. And then normally I use a brush, but today I used my hands. And then you can see here, her brows are actually ombre, so she has them tattooed. So I did not have to fill them in very much. I used an Anastasia brow pencil in soft brown. And I just, perfected it a little bit, maybe a little bit in that front corner and that front part of the brow just to make it look a little bit more full. And I did like hair-like strokes, so it looked like hair. And then I went in with, I must use a moisturizer first, and then now I'm using the gripping primer. But I love gripping primer. I feel like it really sticks to the makeup and it makes it last all night. She's actually getting her makeup done for her baby shower. And then I'm using some Too Faced, or actually I think I'm using the It Cosmetics in neutral medium to conceal the top of her brows. And then I'm using a sponge to just blend that out real nice, diffuse it. And then I'm taking that It Cosmetics, I think it's the CC cream. It might be the oil-free one, but it's in neutral medium. And I'm just using that to cover her face. It's definitely a full coverage, but it doesn't look like you're wearing a lot of makeup. She wanted something super natural on her face, so that's what we went with. You can see the difference right there in her chin. I love this foundation. I love it. I love it. And then I'm using some Cover FX. I'm not sure what color it is, but I'm just using this to like bronze. And then I'm going to place a little bit of a darker color. You can see here. I think this was the Lancome concealer. And I placed just in like the deepest pockets to contour. And then the colors that I used were actually a little bit too warm for what I would have, liked. I think I should have probably just used the Lancome color. That Cover FX was very, very warm. But that Lancome one by itself would have been perfect. But either way, it turned out amazing. I like doing bronzer first because the bronzer can kind of get everywhere. And then I go in with the concealer to, brighten up the places that need to be brightened. The center of the forehead, the nose, I'll do the chin, and then under her eyes. And then you can see like once you blend the concealer out, it kind of marries the bronzer and the concealer together, so it's not so much bronzer in places that it shouldn't be necessarily. And then I'm using that concealer under her eyes to brighten that, cover a little bit on her chin to balance out her face. Just keep patting that in until it's completely blended. I'm taking it almost up to where like her cheekbone is, just to really snatch her face. And then I'm baking with a little bit of translucent powder and a sponge. under her eyes, her chin, her smile lines, and her nose. Those are the places I find that crease the most. And the nose, of course, typically gets oily, so I like to bake there just to provide a little bit more powder so it stays matte for longer. And then I take a fluffy brush and that same powder, and I'm just gonna pat that all over her face until it's on there, and then I'm gonna blend it out so her entire face gets set. And I'm using a little bit of bronzer here on the forehead, temples, and the cheekbones. A little bit on the nose as well. Then I'm gonna get rid of all that bake. I use a lot of setting spray. I use the Urban Decay Vitamin C setting spray. I use a lot. It gets rid of all the powder marks, all the cakiness, all the everything. It makes it look super smooth. I'm using a little puff so that I don't mess up her base, and I'm using a pen. This is a Lancome pen in black just to get the general shape, and her lash line I feel like it's much easier. And then once I get the general shape, she has hooded eyes, so I'm doing like a hooded eye eyeliner. Once I have the general shape of how the wing is going to go, I switch to the Anastasia black liner, and that is my all-time favorite liner. It's super matte, super black, super long wearing. It is my go-to. You can see here the purple tube. I switched so that I could fill in the rest of the liner and really perfect it with the Anastasia liner. And it took me probably the longest time, the whole look. I spent the most amount of time on this eyeliner, definitely. And then you can see here, I had her look up when it was still wet, so it messed it up a little bit, but that can always be fixed. Just put a little bit of concealer on there, let the concealer dry, and then you can blend out the edges and then set it with a little bit of powder. Going in with my go-to MAC Melba blush, very, very universal. I'm putting some lash glue on her lash line to really make sure those lashes stay on all night. No lifting at all. Inner corner, outer corner, no lifting. Not here. We don't know what that is. And then I'm using a little disposable wand to put on some mascara. I use the telescopic from L'Oreal, and it's in the waterproof one. And then I just stick the lashes on with my hands. I like doing the outer corner, and then I do the middle and then the inner corner just to make sure everything is perfect. I always have them, open their eyes, blink, make sure nothing's poking them before I move on to the next lash. And then I did the same thing, just stuck that lash on there. You can use tweezers, but honestly, I've been doing this forever. I feel like it's almost easier just to use my hands. And then I like to lift them up so that they're not, flat or drooping. It really lifts her eyes. It looks so beautiful. And then I use this ColourPop. This is the light one, but I love this highlighter. It is my favorite highlighter in the entire world. It's like a cream highlighter, so it's kind of hard to put on a brush, but I just use that to highlight the inner corner. And then I'm going to highlight the tip of her nose and then the bridge of her nose, I guess, like right in between her eyes. That's my favorite way to highlight. I feel like it really draws attention to the center of the face. And then I'm going to use my finger just to put this on her cheekbones, the top of her cheekbones. I feel like it blends a little bit better and the pigment is a little bit better on your finger. And then I'm going to take this and do her brow bone as well. I also did on top of her brows a little bit, like on her forehead in between the bronzer and concealer. I feel like it really just gave her a little bit of a dewy, like natural look, just a tiny, tiny bit. And then I'm taking that first transition color and I'm just applying that with a very flat, dense brush under her lash line. And then I use that same mascara and I'm going to do her bottom lashes. And then I actually didn't film the liner, like the lip liner, but I think I used a NYX lip liner in brown or nude truffle, and then I used the Fenty Glow lip luminizer. It's so beautiful. It's my favorite lip combo on pretty much everybody except for myself. But I feel like it really is like the perfect nude color. I actually put a little bit of a nude lip gloss in the center as well, just to make it a little bit less pink. And then here she is looking at it in the real mirror. Oh, it's so beautiful. Oh my god. The filter on here makes it a little bit more warm than it is in real life in the pictures that I posted on Instagram. But go check me out at Tailored Makeup. I'll have it in the description below. Thank you so much for watching.